Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society, bringing you our nightly update regarding the activity out here in the tropics across the world. So, as of tonight, we have finally gotten the final advisory on Post-Tropical Cyclone Erin. So, we're going to go over the particulars one final time with Erin, and we're off into the history books, although it's going to cause some major problems out here into the northern Atlantic. We also have Invest 90L and Invest 99L out here into the Atlantic Basin, and then another disturbed area of showers and thunderstorms with the potential here in the eastern Pacific. And a couple more, well, one more out there in the western Pacific that we'll discuss as well. Now, looking at today, the most recent main page here at the National Hurricane Center, we've got post-tropical cyclone Erin, and then we have an 80% chance of development for Invest 90L over the next 48 hours, and a 90% chance of development over the next 7 days. It is recommended that folks in Bermuda monitor this storm closely, as the models do anticipate it going off to the east of the island, but we do not have a developed system yet, so it is too early to make that determination. And then we also have Invest 99L down here has seen a little bit of development percentage reduction in the 48-hour time range. Now it has a 30% chance of development over the next 48 hours and still maintains a 40% chance of development over the next 7 days. If you noticed, the area of development potential has been greatly extended to now also include Barbados and parts of the Windward Islands. Folks, we are going to continue to monitor this. It's been outperforming the models over the last few days, no question about it, with it sustaining its convection. But it's not looking too healthy on satellite, especially now that the sun has gone down on it. We could see that it has very little for convection. Just a few areas of showers and thunderstorms, but we'll see how that progresses through the evening. So, jumping real quick now over to Erin. This is going to be our final night on Erin, as you could see, rapidly racing out to the east northeast at a very, very quick pace. Currently, it is located at 40.0 north, 59.7 west, about 605 miles north northeast of Bermuda, and about 375 miles south southeast of Halifax, Nova Scotia. The maximum sustained winds are 90 miles an hour. It is currently moving east northeast at 33 miles an hour, and its minimum central pressure is 957 millibars. There are no coastal watches or warnings in effect. Hazards still affecting land. Gale force wind gusts are possible along portions of the coast of Nova Scotia today and the Avalon Peninsula of Newfoundland on Saturday or tomorrow. Surf. So we still got one more day, maybe 2 more days of rip currents, and then things will start to kind of calm down. So everybody, please exercise, great caution if going out to the water, especially this weekend. Our storm surge, we're not necessarily expecting too much other than maybe some coastal flooding at times of high tide due to the fact that there are, still plenty of wave action and churned up waters out there. There's no storm surge graphic, though. Just could be some, kind of inconvenient flooding. Let's put it to you that way. Key messages here, we've already kind of gone over all of those. This will be the last key message. 46 advisories issued by the National Hurricane Center here on Erin over the past 12 days. And that's just on Erin, and we're not talking about all the outlooks that were issued as well. If we take a look at the experimental cone and how it is racing out into the northern Atlantic, will get out over here towards Europe and potentially cause some issues, but will not be terribly strong, although, and as you will see here shortly, Erin is actually at 90 miles an hour right now and forecast to strengthen. So it's not done, technically, not yet. It is as far as being a tropical cyclone, but its lifetime as a low pressure center, it's not over. It's stage two is fixing to occur. So taking a look at the spaghetti plot, she's out there. She's pretty much gonna turn, potentially create a counterclockwise loop out here and then rush towards parts of Europe. So this is definitely a another historic version of Erin. Erin's been around. The name has been around for quite a few cycles. And if you really want some interesting reads, go read back with Hurricane Erin in 2001 and Hurricane Erin in 2000, or Tropical Storm Erin in 2007. Those are both got quite interesting stories tied to them. So, our final discussion on post-tropical cyclone Erin. Erin has now become a powerful extratropical low. While there is still deep convection near the center, scatterometer data clearly shows that Erin has become frontal. Thus, extratropical transition has been completed, and this is the last National Hurricane Center advisory. The initial intensity remains at 80 knots based on multiple earlier scatterometer winds near 70 knots with very large gale and storm force wind radii noted. While the general track and intensity forecast is about the same as before, one specific marine hazard to highlight is the consistent development of a strong sting jet in the southern semicircle of Erin by Sunday, as well as a very large hurricane force wind field. Model guidance now suggests that a maximum of 80 to 90 knots is possible, and the NHC intensity forecast is raised to 85 knots then. No other noteworthy changes were made to the previous forecast. And then additional information if you want it for the high seas forecast. If we look in 48 hours, they are forecasting this to jump back up to around 100 miles an hour in association with the phasing with this low pressure that is out there. The two are going to become one, and it's going to be big because there will be a little bit of baroclinic enhancement associated with the low pressure in Erin, and it will deepen again and then finally begin to slowly unwind. So today, our rip currents, as you could see here, anywhere in red is highly recommended to stay out of the water. For tomorrow, as you could see, we have a very low rip current risk here on from about the Outer Banks southward, getting down towards Myrtle Beach. A little bit of a moderate risk from maybe the Myrtle Beach area, maybe just a little bit further to the west of that, down to just north of Jacksonville. But Florida's still under that high risk. And then from about, I would say, maybe about Duck, North Carolina, northward is still underneath that high risk for our rip currents. And extreme eastern Maine will become low as they are protected by Nova Scotia itself. So we still got a little bit to go. So, folks, please, please, please exercise caution if going out to the water. Our wave action. Now, this is going to be the last night that I show this, and this is from the Euro. And as you could see, this thing is going to be monstrous with the overall wave activity, sending just crashing waves into the United Kingdom region and parts of Eastern Europe as well over the next 4 or 5 days. So, if you got friends, family over there, just let them know there's a storm coming, especially if they live in the coastal regions. Okay, now this is something that I have to show. So if we're looking at our forecast advisory, being that this is the final one, and we come down here, forecast valid for 2 p.m. on the 25th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. The forecast winds are expected to be from southwest to northeast, 880 miles in diameter. This is insane. This is absolutely crazy, crazy insane. I mean, it just an unbelievable beast of a storm. Just absolute beast of a storm. It really, really, really is. Certainly another chapter of the name Erin for the Atlantic Basin to go into the history books along with the other versions. And just to try to give somewhat of an example of the wind radii, the graphic itself does not maintain or is able to hold the 34 knot wind speed. And if you look, this is 45 degrees north. This is 34 degrees north. This thing is huge. We're talking from west of 67 still, and then who knows how far east of 56. I mean, you could say maybe even 50. It's huge. So, certainly, again, one for the history books. For those who may ask questions regarding the upwelling and what has occurred post Erin, currently we're kind of waiting for more data to come through as things start to settle and we start to get better readings. But as you can see, there has been some sea surface temperature anomalies have occurred. All right, now this is a sea surface temperature anomaly compared to what is normal. So you may see these graphics slung around on social media as to saying the 7-day anomaly change. There has been a great amount of reduction in the water temperatures. Yes. But right now, what we're monitoring and waiting to see exactly how this materializes, because this is currently yesterday. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this back to the 10th. And as you could see, on August the 10th, we had, you can't tell where Erin developed and came through. Now, as I continue to go forward, you will then be able to see the upwelling of Erin start to take place. Now, we're going to check it over the next couple days to see exactly how much energy has been displaced from the ocean, has been removed. And then we also have what could potentially be Ferdinand coming up, well, maybe kind of in this range here. So it could have a little bit of an impact on this warmer water blob right here if it can develop into a hurricane. So while we have seen some upwelling, the results aren't necessarily in yet. Now, yeah, and the Gulf of Mexico is not funny. We don't want to see anything in the Gulf. Nothing. The whole Gulf is rocket fuel. I don't care where you go. There's a little small strip of what could be considered upwelling here. There is not a single spot in the Gulf of Mexico that isn't ready to just blow the top off of a tropical cyclone if given the right atmospheric environment. Just completely blow the top off of it. So it is it concerning? Yes, absolutely. If we compare it to the rest of the basin, I mean, hell, we could even go global. We can go global. Look, the Gulf of Mexico is is basically the hottest waters on the planet outside of the seas here in the Middle East. Some of these waters here in the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf are actually hotter. But otherwise than that, no. And the Gulf of Mexico, volume wise, oh yeah, we got big issues if we get something in there under the right atmospheric conditions. Okay, now let's get on to our next systems. Bye, Erin. We're done with you. Have a wonderful time in the history books. We will see you again, hopefully nothing like you have been in the past, again in 6 years. I don't see any retirement from Hurricane Erin. So what we're looking at now is our spaghetti plots for Invest 90L. And Bermuda is right there in that circle. As you can see, the model guidance is in pretty good agreement with this staying east of Bermuda, but we don't have anything developed yet. So depending on where consolidation may take place, we'll have to kind of wait and see. Right now, it's looking decent, but do not drop your guard. We do not need any kind of surprise. Oh, we jogged a little bit to the left and now we've got tropical storm warnings or, potential impacts there. Now, I guess a lot of people are going to be more interested in Invest 99L because it is not forecast to pull northward and get out of here. This one is forecast to push and further westward and continue along with the trade winds. Well, if we take a look at how the models are responding to this, very few of them have any type of wind speed to them whatsoever. And if you notice, as we get down towards 4 or 5 days, we get a little bit of a dip back towards the south. And that would be critical because that is also increasing the angle from the distance from any potential troughing feature that would be hanging off of the United States and should allow whatever this may be, if anything is left at all, should allow it for it to just meander right through and get it off into the Eastern Pacific. Okay, so our areas of invest. Tomorrow, we are looking at potential reconnaissance flights from the hurricane hunters. They did relocate some of their assets out to the islands, and as you could see here, we have 2 flights for Invest 90L. This is the one north of the Leeward Islands, potentially headed towards Bermuda interests. And the succeeding day outlook, as we could see here, for the 24th for Invest 99L if the word possible, if it is warranted and is a threat. So this mission here could very easily cancel if there is nothing there. They did cancel earlier missions today, so we'll wait and see. Our models. This is the Euro Legacy. This is the Euro Ensembles. As we could see, the potential for some type of weak, little development here from Invest 99L. 90L has a decent little signal on something, maybe a tropical storm, potentially getting into like a minimal hurricane status. And then a low pressure coming off of the east coast of the United States associated with a decent frontal boundary that will be bringing fall-like temperatures for the folks, quite a few folks across the United States over the coming days. If we compare that with the Euro AI, as we could see, we don't have a lot out here. We don't have much model signature on Invest 99L at all. These 1-2 little scratch marks here are absolutely irrelevant, just due to the fact that your percentages and probabilities are so low that it's pointless to even bother paying attention to them. They are not showing any type of significant signal. We look at 90L, again, we've got the potential for probably a tropical storm with this, with its pressures getting down low enough, and signal from a low pressure system coming off of the United States. Troughing remains. If we compare that with the GEFS, all the models are in pretty good agreement tonight, which is kind of rare, but it does occur every now and then. The GEFS has signals that gets it a little bit too close to Bermuda with Invest 90L, kind of fans out with quite a bit of uncertainty associated with it. And then we could see the low pressures coming off of the frontal boundary associated with the east coast of the United States here. Invest 90L has very, very little signal to it. And then as it continues and gets off into parts of the Caribbean, it does not survive as far as the models are concerned. We will now compare all of those with the Google DeepMind model. And as you can see, we have our area of invest noted here, 99 and 90, plus Erin. Now, as we continue to run this forward, we will note that there is a great amount of signal here associated with 90L. If we were to highlight this and take a look, they are well east of Bermuda. Some of them getting up into hurricane strength intensity. Now, I zoomed out way too far there. So if we were to continue this along, we're out day 7, day 8, day 9, 10, 11. Did you see anything? I got nothing in the Caribbean. Nothing at all. As a matter of fact, I have some signal right there that shows that this could have already harmlessly run through the Caribbean, across Central America, and then potentially developing out here south of Mexico. And if we take it into La La Land, hey, we might have an area of concern that we have to watch. But again, that's way out into La La Land. Our nightly Madden Julian oscillation update, and this is where things, I'm starting to get a little bit concerned here, and I've got signals for this as well outside of this. The MJO has been stuck over the Indian Ocean area and the maritime continents. Well, it is now forecast to collapse and then potentially rebuild back on our side of the basin. That would suck. I would not like to see that. I would have enjoyed the suppressive phase for a little while longer. That would definitely take and make a quick return. The other day I was seeing this and looking at our 200 millibar velocity signature and noticing that we had a small signature here, but now it is extending outward. So we are getting what looks to be a pulse that is basically headed in that direction, with our timelines here going from present to the future downward. So it looks like that maybe around the end of August here, getting into parts of September, we may see a little bit of change in the overall pattern for the Atlantic Basin, at least. As you can see, maybe it causes the Eastern Pacific to go absolutely crazy again, but I'm also worried about the Gulf of Mexico. I don't want anything to get there. So, for the folks that always watch this, you know that we use Earthnol, and I use Earthnol a lot to try to explain different things at height. And I'm always trying to explain, like trying to verbally tell you what the different heights are. Well, today, the American Meteorological Society shared a wonderful graphic that makes my job a lot easier here to denote things that we have. As you can see, we have the 250 millibar level, 500, 700, 850, and then points below, with the 1000 millibar being approximately 300 feet off the surface. So when we go and look at Earthnol, these are the 5 heights that we are looking at. At 250, you know what, I'm just going to clear that out, and we're going to go ahead and we are going to highlight each and every one of these for future use, because this graphic is going to come in immensely handy over the course of the rest of the season. So when we look at Earthnol, these are the heights that we're looking at. Yes, we could go up higher if we wanted to, but weather doesn't occur up that high. So when we look at the 250 millibar winds, or we see winds increase or change direction with height, sometimes we'll get strong winds here and weak winds down here. We don't necessarily have to have, like everything changing in like 180 degree opposite directions. We could have strong winds at the surface, weak winds in the middle, and strong winds at the top, and that results in shear. So, that being said, let's take a look at Earthnol. So, if we were to take a look, we're going to put our trusty green circle here on Invest 99L, kind of where the wave pocket is on the northern side. We'll also keep an eye on Invest 90L here north of the islands as we go through this. Please keep in mind that this is the GFS solution. This is the run of the GFS deterministic or operational run. We're going to take this forward 24 hours. As you could see, this wave has weakened quite a bit as this wave has consolidated and intensified. So let's come back to now and let's go up and take a look as to potentially why. So we are now at the 250 millibar level. So we are up here looking at our winds at around 34,000 feet. Our 90, as you could see, Invest 90L is kind of buried underneath this upper level, uh, you, lower level winds at this point. It is not in this shear belt here. But if we look where Invest 99L is, we see that there is a change in the wind direction right there. Now, if we were to come down to the 500 millibar level, as you can see, the winds are not blowing in that direction. This is a part of the shear component in the hostile conditions that 99L will be dealing with going over the next couple of days. Now, some energy could last and survive through this. So as I'm going to take this forward, we're going to stay at the 250. We're going to erase our arrow. Hold on. I need to make sure I do our clicks correctly. This is 24 hours. And now we're going to go out 48 hours and we're going to come down to the surface to see if we've got anything. Now, with the GFS, we definitely have a center of circulation associated with Invest 90L. As you can see here, there's not a lot of shear over Invest 90L. There's some decent winds here over 99L. But if we come down one level from the 250 millibar level to the 500 millibar level, you notice how the winds change direction with height. So we're still dealing with winds like this. And then if we come down to about 18,000 feet, we've got winds coming in like this. A tropical cyclone is not going to like this at all, not one bit. And that's only two levels. Let's come down to the 850 millibar level and notice that it is fixing to get into some really brisk winds with the low level and the trade winds associated with this high pressure here. So as this starts to get into the Caribbean, I want you to see how the winds with height change. Now we're going to come down to the surface so we can monitor the wave pocket. Here we are 72 hours from now, and on this particular run, our wave pocket is right here. But from this point forward, things get quite interesting because as you could see with the 850 millibar winds, we have a very strong brisk wind because of the fact that we have mountainous terrain here, mountainous terrain here, mountainous terrain here, and it acts like a cap or a funnel to where these winds get in here and they just kind of squeeze or compress and then accelerate as they come through the Caribbean at the low levels. Well, look at the winds at the upper levels. They are much, much weaker. So the lower level is basically going to outrun, like our winds down here are going to be blowing a lot quicker and a lot faster than the winds here. These are going to be weak. So that's kind of what the overall general idea of 99L is looking at. But that's not the only factor. We're just talking about shear. What about dust? Well, as we can see, there is a pretty considerable amount of dust. Here's 72 hours. We noted that the wave pocket was anticipated to be right there in and around the island chain in about 72 hours. And take a look at what it would be traveling with as it is trying to make its way across the Caribbean. It would be traveling with this dust. So it doesn't look good for 99L as far as Atlantic development. Our overall shear models, the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right here, if we run this forward, when we get to the 72-hour mark, the Euro or the GFS definitely has a shear component here, and the Euro does as well, although it is only on kind of the northern part of the islands. And then if we continue to run it forward, the GFS, if we take it out 6 days, the GFS continues to have a great amount of shear over the Caribbean, and so does the signal for the Euro. A great amount of shear as it gets into portions of the Western Caribbean. I'll be able to speak right, my tongue tripped over my face. So now we'll take a look at our mid-level humidity levels. So this is that 700 millibar level. We are looking at the dry air component and the moisture at this level right here at around 10,000 feet. That has a lot to do with tropical cyclone development. So as we continue to run this forward with the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right, you will note that there is a great amount of dry air associated with that dust and some other factors that are taking place across the Atlantic this season. This is 72 hours out. If we were to run this out 120 hours, we can see the GFS trying to bring a little bit of a moisture surge, a moisture pocket here. The Euro is definitely not in agreement. And as we continue to run this forward, even when we get out towards 7 days, there is a competitive dry air, moist pocket, little frothy feature. But as you could see, for the majority, the moisture has been kind of ushered and headed off into, even if I run the GFS out further, the wave action has been ushered off into the Western Pacific, with potential development here on the GFS beginning to occur south of the Isthmus of Tehuantepec and the Gulf of Tehuantepec. So all in all, one thing that we are going to have to watch is that I do notice is that we keep getting these frontal boundaries and these troughs digging down, which is going to leave a stalled out frontal boundary. And what we've seen in the beginning of the season, we may see again, where we get little areas of low pressure spinning up on the tail end of some of these stalled out frontal boundaries. So it's something that we'll have to watch if this is the signal that we're going to be seeing. It's a little early for that, but Mother Nature doesn't care, obviously, what time of year it is. She plays at her own pace. So jumping out now into, it could, it could, Siri. Yes, ma'am, it could. It could definitely. I'd give it about 3 days, maybe, give or take. Um, Let me see here. Let's see if we can get a forecast here. And it doesn't go out that far. 60% chance of thunderstorm activity there on Monday, Sunday. Yeah, just isolated thunderstorm activity. Partly cloudy, 40% chance of thunderstorm activity here on Sunday. Um, yeah, it's not really anticipated to be a lot. Moderate seas. I don't see it to be a considerable impact at all. We'll let's see, extended range forecast. Oh no, that goes out. That's way out. I do apologize. I don't use this website very often. as far as Trinidad and Tobago. I know exactly how to get there. Let's see. Official statement number one for area of Invest 99L has been issued. There are no current public warnings. So, short-lived tropical depression. Um, they still have this morning. They haven't updated it since this morning. Issuance time would have been in correlation with the 8 a.m. tropical outlook. And when it was at 40% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 50% chance, and now it is down to a 30% and 40% respectively. So development percentages are reducing there. As far as our spot out back out here into the Eastern Pacific, we have a 10% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 60% chance of development over the next 7 days, with the potential of this, ticking off another name and creating ACE for the folks out there in the Eastern Pacific. Tropical Depression 18, Ling Ling is no more. Final warning has been issued on that. Tropical Depression number 19W. This has been issued and named Isang, ISANG from Pagasa and the Philippines. This is concerning because, as you can see here, its overall size is quite large. It is a monsoonal gyre. But if it were to get its act together quicker than what the Joint Typhoon Center is calling for, the one thing that is concerning to me is that we have intensification throughout the entirety of the forecast through landfall into potentially populated areas. Now, if it hits Hainan here, it would get disrupted and wouldn't have this uninterrupted path to folks over here into Vietnam and points eastward or westward, because this one is kind of got my little spidey senses going. Maybe I don't like the look of it. Here's the satellite imagery on it. If this thing were to tighten up and get a decent core, it's got a little bit of time to where it can get its act together. And if it stays south of Hainan, oh, watch out, folks. That one has the potential to be a big time problem. Just because of the fact that it's a monsoonal gyre and it'll be containing a unbelievable amount of tropical moisture that would be dumped over inland areas, and flooding would certainly occur. All right, everybody. That's about all I've got here for tonight. Just a quick look at the Global Tropics Hazards Outlook. We'll get a new one on Tuesday. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what occurs and how things evolve over time. So, all right, everybody. I'm going to check back to see. Okay, I don't see anything there. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off for tonight. We will be back live tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central here on Facebook and YouTube. Regardless of development percentages, folks, we will be live. No matter what happens, we're going to be live every single night until Halloween. So even if the basin turns quiet, we'll still be here to go over the models and, maybe a little bit of shenanigans while we've got some downtime. But otherwise than that, we'll be here every night. So you're very welcome, Betty. And to everybody, have a great evening. We'll talk to you again tomorrow night. Good night.